When you think about lost media, it's referring to the concept of cartoons, video games, and similar content having gone missing from the public area. But with the popularity of lost media and how everything feels nostalgic nowadays, it's fun to extend the concept of lost content to other areas that can't be experienced anymore, one of which is food. Just the other day, I was eating a Jersey Mike's sub, which is my favorite sub company of all time, and was thinking about what might happen if Jersey Mike's suddenly went out of business, or even if they just changed management and started messing with the quality of their product, giving it a different taste. How would I ever be able to experience the Jersey Mike's number 16 as I know and love? I guess the answer is I wouldn't, and throughout our pasts there have been a variety of different foods that we all know and love, but were discontinued or fit this idea of becoming lost to the point where we can't ever experience eating them again. For a long time, you guys have asked me to make a video on lost foods, and well, today, I finally came up with some of my favorites, as well as some suggestions from X. So let's reminisce about all the food we'll never be able to eat again, unless they bring them back, and they're just as good as we remember. The first topic in this video is one that wasn't brought up in the X thread, and is something I actually completely forgot about until a conversation at my grandmother's 85th birthday party recently. We were serving the cake and talking about old desserts we used to eat, when the topic of Friendly's ice cream was mentioned, with a few memories about their specialty rolls that we'd get around special occasions, like the celebration roll, which in itself is not made anymore. However, there was one kind of roll that we ate every summer, several times in fact, that I haven't had in years and didn't even realize it was discontinued. This is the legendary Friendly's watermelon roll, or I guess watermelon as they called it on the box. This was an ice cream product that was around for as far back as I can remember, having first eaten it sometime in the early 2000s. In fact, I don't think they even changed the box that much at all in the years we were buying it. The roll itself is made up of two flavors of ice cream, watermelon sherbet in the center and then lemon sherbet along the side. The green around the edge is just coloring. It isn't actually lime sherbet, despite how some of my family members swear it was actually a different flavor. On top of the ice cream flavors itself, the piece was finished off with some chocolate chips on the inside to replicate watermelon seeds, and actually went extremely well with the other flavors. This was a tradition, and when we had it for the first time in a season, you knew summer was here. But a few years ago, I'd questioned why we stopped buying it since everyone loved it, and my grandmother told me it was because she couldn't find it in the stores anymore. I remember doing a quick search online at the time, trying to see if you could still buy it, and I'm fairly certain it was available to be shipped from some stores, but we never actually did that. But maybe we should have, because this was the beginning of the end of the watermelon roll. Back in 2021, Friendly's announced that they would be leaving the ice cream roll market and discontinued their entire line of products, including this. Any remaining stock was bought up, and now you can't get it anymore. There are several websites that still have listings up for the product and make it look like it can still be purchased, so I was thinking maybe it's still being made somewhere, but if you look closer, they're out of stock everywhere. Though thankfully, it seems like I'm not the only person who wants this back, and I even found a small petition looking for signatures to bring it back. Alright friendlies, I've never done this before, but how many reposts do we need to get this one made again? I told my grandmother I'd do my part in getting it brought back, so maybe with enough interest, we can actually revive this summer classic, even if it's only for a limited time. I think the next entry on the list has to be an entire group of food, because between my own recollections and the suggestions from X, there are a whole lot of lost fruit snack and similar tasting candies that they don't make anymore, and is by far one of the most popular foods people are nostalgic for. I've been eating fruit snacks for basically my entire life, being that kid in school who always had what the other kids called the gummies at snack time, and everyone would be my best friend for that half hour just wanting to get one from me. So needless to say, in my time of fruit snack eating, I've seen a ton of loved styles and flavors leave stores. One of the ones that sticks out to me the most are shark bites. These guys have been around since the 90s, and it's this earlier style of packaging I best remember from the stores. Each gummy was shaped like a different kind of shark, and came in a handful of different flavors. In particular, the taste of the white one is something I can still remember well, and apparently there are other people online who feel the same way. To me, all of the flavors were really good, but after a package redesign and some comments online that mentioned changing the formula that made them so good, fans of the original stopped supporting them and the product was dropped completely. I don't remember specifically disliking any version of them, but I can completely understand a change in taste not sitting well with the fans, who came to know them in a certain way. Another popular fruit snack that I remember, and was brought up quite a bit in the X post, were Twistables. These were long gummy snacks that came wrapped with 2 other flavors surrounding a 3rd flavor pillar. I think most people remember these for the stop-motion commercials that would air all the time on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, with the tagline, "It's the fruit snack with a twist." You can find pictures for a few different flavors they made, and I remember trying most of them, if not all of them, though some were better than others. But unlike other fruit snacks where you get a handful in one pouch, these were packaged individually, so it felt like you had to eat more than one to get your fill. Interestingly, I can't find a single image of the fruit snack out of the package, so I guess photos documenting their physical appearance are actually lost media. And similarly to Twistables, Yogos are another really popular lost food product that almost always gets brought up in lists of what people remember. The gimmick with these, unlike fruit snacks, is that they were supposed to be a healthier option, being covered in yogurt rather than sugar. But I'm pretty sure everyone accepted the fact that these basically were just glorified candy. But what made them less appealing to me is the fact that they weren't as good as candy. They definitely didn't taste as sweet, and some of the flavors left a weird taste in my mouth. I can definitely remember only being interested in them because of the little Yogos dispenser they gave you free in some of the boxes, which made eating them a lot of fun. I still have a couple of these from back in the day. But believe it or not, Yogos actually get confused for a completely different kind of fruit snack from the 90s that in my research actually is lost. Whenever I talk about discontinued foods with my mom, she always brings these up, and I have a distinct memory of them too. They were called Power Balls or something very similar in name. No, not Wonder Balls, Power Balls. Distributed and packaged like a regular fruit snack. However, they were hard-coated on the outside and chewy on the inside, which made them feel more like a candy and less like a fruit snack, but they were down the same aisle. I'm pretty sure each piece was also a random size and color, so they were very inconsistent. But every time I look online, I'm unable to find much mention of them. While doing research for this video, I did find a Reddit thread of someone who remembers them too, and is from the New England area, as I am, and remembered seeing them at Shaw's, which is where I remember shopping back then too. We're definitely remembering the same thing here, with the current theory being that they were some kind of regional product. I can't remember what company made them, but if you have any info or original boxes you can share, be sure to let me know. In fact, if there are any products on this list that do still have obscure releases somewhere, be sure to post a comment about where they can still be found. Of course, when it comes to lost foods, the snacks based in cheese, salt, or butter have had their fair share of products you can't get anymore. One of the most popular and loved of these kinds are that of cheese nips, and the wide variety of special versions they released over the years. Now, cheese nips by themselves are a snack I loved growing up, and would always prefer them over Cheez-Its, because Cheez-Its always tasted burnt. In fact, I still eat Cheez-Its, and still think they taste burnt, but without the cheese nips around being able to compete with them, I've succumbed to the burntness. Now, as for the cheese nips, they always tasted way more cheesy and full of flavor, no weird aftertaste, and you could just sit there and eat the whole box of them, they were that good. I know at some point I had stopped eating them for a while and forgot about them, only to remember them again, and then realize they were nowhere to be found. Like the stores magically stopped selling them as soon as I wanted to eat them again. According to Wikipedia, it says they were discontinued as recently as 2020, but I'm fairly certain my stores stopped carrying them way before that. Though the article also mentions that in Canada, the cheese nips are still being sold under a different company, but I have no idea how identical to the original they actually taste. You can get the really fun and nostalgic varieties. The Nickelodeon ones specifically are the ones everyone loves. I'm pretty sure we did buy boxes of all the varieties, but from what I remember, the character ones did taste different compared to the normal ones, so I never preferred them as much. But my grandfather loved the cat dog ones. That still gets mentioned in family stories to this day. And it's funny to think about that even if Cheese Nips did make a comeback, the only one of these series that would get reprinted would be SpongeBob, or maybe some kind of generic Nick set. But we'd never see the likes of Cat Dog ones or Fairly Odd Parents ones anymore. They're not popular enough to market like that nowadays. And speaking of snacks that aren't popular nowadays, here's one that I'm sure nobody is petitioning to bring back because so few people probably even remember them existing. If you've ever looked down the snack food aisle at a store, there's a decent chance you've come across Bugles. They're like a salty corn chip shaped like a cone, and I'm sure every kid that ever ate them put them on their fingers like I did. But did you know that there were counterparts to this product named Whistles and Daisies? My mom always mentions Whistles when she thinks about discontinued foods, but I had never heard about them before. I can't find any modern day iteration of them besides really old ads from the late 60s and early 70s, so they must have been discontinued a long time ago. Same with daisies. From a recollection online, it recalls whistles as being more of a cheesy snack, while daisies had a buttery flavor to them. I'm not sure why bugles were the ones that were continued while the other ones weren't, but maybe they were simply the most popular of the three at the time. But another snack food that's changed from the way they used to be made were these goldfish knockoffs called cheddar penguins. This wasn't even that long ago when I first had them, it must have been only a few years, but at one point while shopping at Stop & Shop, they had released their own store brand version of goldfish that used penguins as the shape instead. I can't remember if it was because they were on sale or the concept of penguins was just funny, but I ended up trying them and let me tell you, they were the best cheese snack I have ever had, next to the cheese nips from my childhood. In fact, they reminded me a lot of cheese nips, and I would go through a bag of those in a few days. For one reason or another, we stopped buying them until I inevitably remembered them and wanted some more, when I was surprised to find out the original iteration of them was replaced. I haven't looked for them in a while, but I know the last time I did, the packaging had been redone, and the taste wasn't the same at all. They were less distinct than before, and if you ate too many, it almost made your mouth feel sour. It wasn't a welcome change, and I never bought them again, never being able to relive the glory days of the original cheddar penguins. With the exception of fruit snacks, candy might be the most nostalgic and well-remembered lost food category of them all, simply because every kid eats candy growing up, and so much of it can come and go. Not to mention, there's just so many different kinds of candy out there to begin with. One type that I was surprised to see mentioned in the post on X were Hershey's Kissables, as I had completely forgotten those existed. But after the recollection, I distinctly remember my mom getting a couple bags for us because of the fun color gimmick. Wikipedia says that they were comparable to M&Ms, and featured a thick sugar shell, which is where those colors come from. But believe it or not, I remember not liking these very much. There was something about the shell that made the actual chocolate taste off to me, and Hershey's chocolate is so good on its own, I don't think you need anything getting in the way of that. I remember it also being the kind of candy that if you ate too much of, it would start to make you feel sick, which I guess can apply to every candy, but specifically I remember these ones causing me to feel sick way quicker. Maybe I'm just biased from the bad memories of them, but I don't miss these too much. Apparently they were discontinued in July 2009 after a change to their formula, which seems about right, since it feels like ages ago when I last had them. But I'm more of a fruit candy guy anyway, so that opens up a huge rabbit hole of stuff that's been long gone since I was a kid, or types of candy that were so scarce, I probably only had them once or twice. On the X thread, there was a post for Sour Apple Mike and Ike's, which I swear I did have at one point, but I didn't even know those were discontinued. I remember Starburst and Sour Patch also came out with hot varieties at one point that I tried. It was like the normal fruit candy, but there was a spicy kick to it, which I remember being awful. I never tried them again, and I think I threw away the rest of the bag. And then there was an Airhead flavor that for some reason sticks out in my mind for how ridiculous it was. It was a promotional flavor that was released for the Disney Cars movie, and it was called Burnt Rubber. The packaging had characters from the movie on it, and it looks like there's a commercial on YouTube showing the promotion. I remember it tasting orangey, so it wasn't actually a bad flavor, or intentionally made to be bad, like the Bean Boozled jelly bean flavors for example. And of course, I have to mention the Nintendo candy. This is like its own area that everyone loves to reminisce about. Most people remember the 3D gummies inside of the plastic Game Boy cases, and the Jelly Pops that you could find in stores like GameStop. The Jelly Pops are particularly nostalgic to me, because I remember on many occasions going into GameStop to look at games, and even when we didn't buy anything, my dad would still get us Jelly Pops. I remember Yoshi was green apple, Link was watermelon, I think Mario was strawberry, and Donkey Kong was root beer. He was the worst of all. Nobody liked eating a root beer flavored candy. There were also SpongeBob ones that I recall getting at AC Moore once or twice, but those were much rarer to find compared to the Nintendo ones. And speaking of Jelly Pops, there's actually a little bit of lost media related to them that blows my mind after not having known about this detail at all as a kid. A few months ago when we were doing a live stream, we were looking at the Jelly Pops and discovered that in Canada releases of them, Luigi and Diddy Kong were put into the character mix. With the few photos we found, we got a decent look at Luigi, but the Diddy one is completely obscured in the back. That means that if someone wanted to document Diddy, they'd have to buy this sealed case and open it up, unless more resurface. But these are really rare, and currently, this is the only evidence of him that I can find. I can't believe it took all these years for more characters to appear, expanding from the 4 that everyone remembers. And now we'll hit the larger meals and frozen foods on this lost food rabbit hole. Stuff that I guess I wouldn't really say is snack-based. Now, when I was recollecting what I've eaten out that no longer exists, one of the first things that came to mind was the Dunkin' Donuts pizza. I remember when I first mentioned this on a live stream, people didn't believe it existed, and that I was misremembering or confusing it for something else. But if you look it up online, you can indeed find evidence that shows it was a real food item that they served back in the late 2000s. The reason for getting this was something along the lines of having to stay at my dad's office while he finished up work, so on the way there, we grabbed a pizza from Dunkin' Donuts. And honestly, for as bad as it might sound or for as bad as it might look, I remember really liking it. To me, it tasted like Pizza Hut, and was something I could have eaten more of. In fact, I think that was one of the downsides, was how much it cost for how much pizza you ended up getting. From some other pictures online of it, it looks like they had a couple different varieties you could choose from, but I only ever had the cheese, and only once. I was never able to go back for another. Aside from fast food, a frozen food item that I saw a lot of people recall were Pillsbury waffle sticks, something I've never eaten before. I was never big on breakfast growing up, or even nowadays, so that kind of food is not something I enjoy. But you can find a lot of content from this product online, including old commercials and even some promotional releases for movies like Shrek 2. I definitely remember seeing this one commercial of the kid in the hospital on TV many times growing up. Even though these have been discontinued for years, it seems like this is one of those foods that has a dedicated fan base, and there are constant remarks sent to Pillsbury on social media to bring it back. But for now, those are some of my, and your, favorite lost food products that we might never taste again, especially in their original form. And I know there are dozens of more items I didn't include in the video, so comment your own favorite lost food, and maybe I'll revisit the topic with another round of memories. I'm sure there are some I'm forgetting about that are going to come back to me in a few days, and then I'll wish that I could eat them again. Maybe the moral of the story is to enjoy what kinds of food items you like to eat and are available now, because you never know when they'll become lost. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out some of my other lost media videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Finn.